Hello and welcome back to part 2 of our AH-1Z shark mouth helicopter gunship build, and I've completed step 1 in the instructions, which was putting all the cockpit together. I've left the seats out and the and some of the console pieces out at the moment. They're all being painted and undercoated. I'll bring them out in a second. We'll have a look. But I did go ahead with step 2 while those parts are drying. I thought we'd just have a quick look at what I've done here. So on this section here, we put in this piece in here, which is the support, or where the rotor mechanism will sit on top of and the shaft will go through, I'm guessing. So that's just been glued in. This piece here looks like something to do with the exhaust. It sort of goes off at a bit of an angle. So that's been glued in as per instructions. And this plate here was glued on, which, if you look at the other side, shows a grill in behind there. Going to focus for me. Probably not. I have a bit of a problem with my lighting. It's a really cloudy, wet, overcast day outside, which means my whole apartment here doesn't get as much sunlight, and my light on the roof isn't that bright, and you really do notice it darker in here on cloudy days, and it sort of affects my video lighting. What I really need is one of those, I think it's called a ring light, just as an extra on the side. I do have photography equipment and studio lights, but I don't really want to go to the trouble of setting up those things on stands, and they generate a bit of heat and they're a bit overkill for this. But anyway, that's showing there. So you can see the grill in there. For some sort of bit of the cooling system, I guess. Now on top of here will be some photo etch. So I didn't paint that underneath because I figured you won't be able to see that anyway. It'll be under the grill photo etch. And once I check the photo etch, which I can do actually right now, so I've got it right here. Oh, by the way, it's a bit of copper wire, which I might do for a little bit of additional wiring around the cockpit or around the back of the seats or something, make it look a bit better. So I think it's probably these two oval shapes that will go there, and from what I can tell, won't be able to see through them. So that's fine. So yeah, so that's on there. I have to undercoat here and paint this section just in here black, because that'll be viewable from the cockpit. So just that section, I'll be doing that very, very shortly. There's also a little piece here that goes on, which I'm about to put together. You'll see it here. There's a pipe running up and a bracket for it to sit in. That will also has to be painted black, so I figured, well, I'll put that on now before I paint this, so I can do it all at once. And then we're not too far from the two pieces of the helicopter to be put together, but there's a lot of work on the cockpit to do. A lot of painting, there's control panels to do, there's lots of stuff, so that will probably be in this video. See how far we get with paint drying. Like I said, the weather's not the best here, and that's also affecting my airbrush painting. I did have some trouble this morning. Anyway, I'll bring over the pieces and we'll have a look at them first. Okay, we'll be back very shortly. Okay, so I use Stynylrez Res, and this one's black. I've also got white, and I've also got a brownie coloured one. But, so that's the black Stynylrez Res, great stuff. goes down nicely. It fills in any gap. It's self-leveling and goes down nice and thick. It's good stuff. But like I was saying before with the weather, I'm having trouble spraying it. Normally, I would run the compressor at about 50 psi, and this would just spray out beautifully. But it was drying and clogging up in the tip because of, I guess, because of all the moisture in the air. So I tried thinning it, and I probably added about 20% thinner, maybe 15% thinner. Helped a little bit, but not much. It was still clogging. You know, you'd press the trigger and it'd stop coming out, literally completely stop, and then suddenly, just spurt out. Not good. Anyway, with the thinner mixed in, it did spray a bit better. So this is there's one piece there that's been done. So, I mean, like I say, it's only an undercoat, but because these will be painted black anyway, should be fine. There's the cockpit itself. Sprayed up nice. And it could almost be a final coat itself, you know, the way it is. It probably is not going to look much different to what my final coat will be, which will be a flat black. There's the seats, also looking quite good. Again, it's just the primer. And then we've got one of the dash consoles there. These will also have decals, and I'll be painting too. I'll get a tiny little brush and I'll be painting little bits. I'm also thinking of doing some dry brushing. There's the other one there. Let's see. So yeah, and I'll be definitely touching those up. So there'll be quite a bit of detail work in this cockpit as it goes together. That white that it's on will probably blow the focus out. Yep. So, okay, so I'm going to get on with putting these little pieces together onto the fuselage and getting that sprayed in the undercoat. And because this Dyno Res dries, you know, in an hour in this weather, I'll see how we go. I'll try and get that base coat on as soon as possible, because I need that to dry before I can do any further work on that, which is why I'm in between stepping into doing step 2. Also with step 2, I'll mention it includes the little camera system at the front of the chopper, and I'm going to build that up, but I may make that a little bit more detailed. I'll get some styrene and some other bits and pieces, and I'm going to try and make it look a little bit more than what the actual model shows it as looking. Yeah, we'll get some details, something looking like pieces inside that, because that will be with the clear cover I'm going to put on that. All right, so back shortly, and we'll see a bit more further progress. Hello, welcome back. So I've base coated those cockpit parts, and the paint flowed beautifully. So not a problem at all. Went on really nice. They're drying now. I will give them all day to dry before I touch them to start doing any smaller detail. So I've moved on to step 2 on our instructions, and I'm working on the camera. Let me just check what it's actually called. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so it's called a target sight system, and it sits in the nose under the aircraft, and it rotates 360 degrees, and that is what it looks like. We'll just give a view of that. That's what it's going to look like put together. Of course, there'll be brackets around the outside that it sits in and rotates in, like the harness it's in. But when you look into it, that's what you're going to see. And you're not going to see anything because there's nothing in there. And I want to change that. So I'm going to put something in there that looks like some electronics and possibly a camera lens and some bits and pieces in there that just give it some sort of detail, because having that on the nose of the chopper, just an empty ball, no, I can do better than that. So I'm going to work on that now. I've got some styrene. I'll cut some out. I'll take this apart. I'll show you how. See. So what I'll do is I'll build up a support in the center there and put a platform on it, and then we'll put some objects on there and yeah, see if we can get it looking like something in there anyway. Okay, it gives me something to do while the rest of the parts are all drying. Everything else in step 2, and I'll just check this, everything else in step 2 is complete. Just go have a quick sneaky peek at the step 3. Okay, so the only other thing in step 2 to do, sorry, get that better, will be actually putting the cockpit into the fuselage. And there's also a fan that goes up in the top there as well, which we'll need to paint and detail as well. And there's a different color for that too, number 8. I'll just check from the color guide what number 8 is, and that's steel. So we're probably going to use an aluminium or some other color to do that fan. And then that's when that'll fit in. And yeah, so that's good. I'll work on this now. I'm looking forward to this, and I'll keep you updated, and we'll progress and see how this comes along. Okay, back shortly. And welcome back. So I'm making a bit of progress on this front little weapons, whatever it is, camera thing. And I've looked at a few reference photos and I'm sort of working on it. So what I've got here is I've got a bit of styrene. I'm going to do a little bit of piping through there, and then I've got some wire I'm going to put in just to add a bit of realism in here, and I've managed to put in a platform in there. See if that's going to focus for me. Come on, focus up, focus. There you go. So that's basically a couple of lenses in there, little box. I'll put a button or two on there. I'll make the lenses for those two out of some clear sprue that I've got, and I'll just make that for the top of that, and then when I think I've got enough bits and pieces in there, I'll paint it up black, maybe put a little red button in there somewhere. I might put this copper wire in and not paint it, so I might put this in after I've painted it, just to show that I'll run that somewhere. And, anyway, it's going to look better than having an empty, ball with nothing in it. So, and of course, this will sit on top like that. So you can see how that's going to go. So we're going to get that, and then the lens is simply going to sit on the top like that. So it's going to have something there. Why not, eh? Okay, I'll keep going and we'll see how it looks soon. Back in a sec. Hello and welcome back. I've finished the camera system in the front of the helicopter. I've got it all detailed and painted up. So we'll have a look at that. So A little bit of wiring through there, and I've got camera lenses on and a bit of aluminium painted in there. So it's looking a bit better than having it empty. And of course on top of that will go the lens cover like that. And what I've also done is where the camera, well, it sits in a harness which should go over each side of it here, and the and then this attaches to the top, and then that will go onto the bottom of that. So that's sitting on the top of the camera like that. What I've done is I've put, see in there, I've drilled them out a little bit, and I put magnets in there. So we've got two magnets. So now the magnet's going to hold it up so I can easily take the camera off and put it back, and having magnets hold it up under the front of the helicopter. So that should work out. This, I'm not sure if it's going to fit yet, but that's going to be, we're supposed to put 3 grams of weight. So that'll be the weight in the front of the helicopter. Now, like I said, I've also finished the painting. So we've got the chairs, seats done. So those come up quite good, nice and very black. And I've also done painted up the one here, which was the back of one of the seats. It's the one in the rear. So that's all painted up. I've got to do some detail work on that. The cockpit itself is all painted. There it is. The focus is pretty hard on the black. But anyway, that's it. And I've started doing some bit of dry brushing and a bit of painting on the console here. As you can see, it's going to focus for me. There's looks like 2 little cameras on either side there, and I've put them a little bit of aluminium color, and then I've done a bit of my ultra glue to make clear lens like effect on them. I put a bit of color, some of the switches there, yellow and I think it was red or green there. I've also dry brushed just slightly around the outside of it, just to bring up a little bit of more detail. And I'm now just about to continue working on these. Yeah, so I'll keep going with this on the other console and every other part, and then the cockpit itself will need some little bits of red on the triggers and of the joysticks, and a few other little bits and pieces, and a bit of weathering and dry brushing of this as well. Okay, so yeah, it's coming on well. It's going to take me a little bit of time working on this cockpit, because the next step will be to actually place this inside the fuselage of the helicopter. So it needs to all be done now, preferably anyway. I'm still waiting on the photo etch seat belts to come, so I won't be putting in the chairs in here, just because I'm not sure how flexible and how these seat belts are going to go on. I've never done them before, so it most likely be easy to do with the chairs being, accessible like this. All right, so yeah, I'll keep going. Obviously this is all coated black now on the inside where it's visible from in the cockpit. So yeah. All right, I'll be back shortly and we'll have a look a bit further into the progress. Okay, hello, welcome back. Progressed quite a bit for the cockpit here. We've got it's all finished pretty much. Put the decals in there. That's going to focus for us. There we go. So the decals went on nicely for the screens. I did a bit of a touch up with just a bit of a dry brush of German grey across where all the panels are, and then a little bit on some of the edges just to show a bit of wear and tear, just to highlight bits showing up a bit more. The seats are just sitting in there, they're not glued in yet because I'm still waiting on the photo etch harnesses for those. So but they're looking good. Yeah, it's come up quite good. I did it did say to leave that black where the grill is on the back, but I ended up doing it in aluminium. Figure that might look all right. So yeah, that's all done, and of course our little camera unit for the front of the helicopter is all. You can see all the inside there. It rotates up and down, and of course this with the magnet inside means that it will drop that. It will rotate, turn side to side as well when it's mounted into the fuselage. So those are all there, just a safe spot. On the main body of the helicopter, I've put in the little platform where that camera will mount inside of. We'll go in there. This is glued on there. That's this helicopter required an extra 3 grams of weight ballast in the front. I think that weighs about 5 grams, and it's all I really had. It's pretty big, but you won't see it. It does fit there. Nothing's not going to get in the way of anything. So it'll be inside there, and that's plenty of weight to give the thing a bit of a weight feel to it, and stop it standing up on its tail, which is why we've probably got to put the ballast in the front. So that's all prepared now. That's in for the prop support to go in. That's all pretty much, I think, complete. Oh, there's some fans for the front of the engine that need to go here somewhere, in here. Now I've painted those. I'll have a look at these. Take them off this white. There's one for each side. So I've painted these aluminium steel color. See that? And I'm just waiting for that to dry a little bit more, and then I'll give it a quick shot of clear, and as well as do the cockpit, I'll do a clear coat, and then I'll get some of my panel line to just do around there to make those blades just pop up a little bit more and stand out a little more. So that's that. So while I've been waiting on those to dry, which they almost are now, I've skipped ahead a little bit. On the instructions, step 2 will be placing the cockpit and gluing that into that side, this side of the fuselage. And then pretty much putting in the prop shaft, the blade, well, I guess they're the prop shaft, into the top there. That will go in. Those exhaust things for the engine, they'll go on. And then pretty much the other side of the fuselage will go against it, and that forms the main body. So that's moved ahead quite well. So what I did was I've skipped part 3 because part 3 is just putting the air ducts for the intake of the engine onto here. There's no painting or anything at this stage. It's just a matter of cutting them off the sprue and connecting them, joining them together and putting them on pretty much. And step 4 is just adding a few little bits and pieces around the outside of the fuselage. There's just a few little things there. That's simple. So I'll do that when I've got this on. So I went down to step 5, and step 5 is to put the skis on. Skis. Whatever you call it that the helicopter sits on. So yeah, I mean, if it had wheels, I'd say wheels, but they're not wheels. So I'm sure somebody will let me know. So I'm in the process of gluing these together, which is what's happening. Move that aside. Which is what's happening here. So I've done one end. Just got to be very careful that you position these, keep these in the correct order, because if you're doing this kit, there is slight little indentations in there that are specific to each side. So left is left, right is right. Don't mix them up. And also these have to be the right orientation, at least the one on the rear towards the back. Or if this was a ship, it'd be to the stern. These have to be in the right position. You'll see it in the instructions. Whereas the front one doesn't matter. It wouldn't matter which way you put that around. It's the same. So that will go on to there when I glue that shortly. And then there's the piece that sits underneath here, which is the whole bottom of the helicopter, which is shown here, which is also step 5, is basically just dropping, sorry, get that in view, dropping that straight onto there. And yeah, so that's it. And then it moves on from there to placing it straight down on the bottom of the helicopter. You can do this anytime. This is all one piece. So, you know, I'll probably leave that off for a while I'm working on the fuselage. Does look like there's a couple other little pieces that might go down on the bottom there. But they're just a matter of clipping them off, tidying them up, putting and gluing them on. Yeah, so that's that. So what I'm going to do now is continue with this. Then I'll put the cockpit, once I've clear coated it, inside the main fuselage of the helicopter, and we'll see how that starts looking. But that'll be in the next part, so you'll have to stick around and wait for part 3 for that. And we'll call this a video. I think we're into just over half an hour now. That's long enough. And yeah, so as usual, thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Give us a thumbs up if you liked the video. Comment below. Still want to know what these things are called. I don't even know what to Google search to find them. You know, like bottom part of helicopter. I don't know. Anyway, and yeah, any comments are welcome, and questions or hints, suggestions. And that's it. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.